What is good, YouTube? It is your boy NCSO7 here, and welcome back to another review video. Today I'm going to be reviewing Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 for the PlayStation 5, so without further delay, let's go into this with a bit of a thing that you should probably know. I never really played the original Puyo Puyo Tetris. The only thing that I've played of it is just the Switch demo that came out like years ago. That is all that I've played of the games. And regarding Puyo Puyo and Tetris on their own, I mean, I've played the Flash version of Tetris when it was still around before, Flash got eviscerated off the internet, unfortunately. And Puyo Puyo, I haven't really played it a lot. The only real thing I played beforehand was just Kirby's Avalanche. Yeah, the obscure stuff. So, going into this game, I knew what I was getting myself into, but I also wasn't sure. But let's find out and start off with, of course, the presentation. This game is very beautiful to look at. I mean, it's a puzzle game, so it's not really gonna really blow you away with like crazy next-gen graphics. I mean, keep in mind this came out on Switch as well, so it's not gonna be super advanced or anything like that. But it still looks really nice. Cutscenes in the story mode look really nice. Even if there isn't really a lot of animation at all, it still looks nice and better than that of the first game, if I'm gonna be honest. And honestly, there isn't really much to say about performance. Honestly, simply put, the game looks nice. It's pleasant to look at, and it's all colorful, what Puyo Puyo and Tetris should represent. And next, going on to the story. Now, this takes place in the adventure mode, basically after the events of the first game, I'm assuming, more than likely. Essentially, the two worlds merge together through squares, and there's Maro, who's making people play these battles so that way they can have fun, and that's supposedly what you're trying to stop, because battling apparently isn't good. Even though that's what they do most of the time. Sometimes they're not even forced into a battle. Sometimes they're just like, oh, we'll just go, let's just take a break. Then let's just battle. So, in a way, it almost feels like they're kind of enabling the problem even further. I don't really get it. The story isn't deep at all. Nothing super deep. But it's still good regardless, especially since the characters make it live it up a lot more. With some good humor and some good writing, it makes them really good. And all the characters aren't super deep or anything like that, they're still fun to watch in between levels. But yeah, story-wise, pretty good. It's nothing super big, but it doesn't have to be that. It's a puzzle game. Simplicity is always nice. But I think I've said enough about that. Let's move on to the actual gameplay. Now, the gameplay, as you could tell in the title, is basically Puyo Puyo and Tetris mixed together. Now, there's multiple ways this can work. There's normal versus battles that you can play, where it's just you can choose whether you want to play Puyo Puyo or Tetris, and it's kind of like a fighting game in a sense. Essentially, you go off against an opponent, and the first person whose screen is filled up or whatever, then they lose. It's very easy, and both games work within against each other. Essentially, let's say someone was playing Puyo Puyo and the other person was playing Tetris. It would work in the end. There's a balancing. So it's really cool because it kind of allows for people to have two styles of gameplay. And not only that, it kind of gives you two puzzle games in one in a sense, because you could just set both characters, both yours and the CPUs, to Puyo Puyo or Tetris and just play the game as a Puyo Puyo game or a Tetris game. Or you can mix and match as you choose and get the experience for both of them. However, it's not just the normal versus battles that happen. There's also the skill battles, which are kind of interesting. Essentially, they use these RPG elements. You have a decent amount of health, and basically when you do clear lines or connect chains of Puyos together, it will add up on damage and damage the other party. But you can also use several abilities as well, depending on the characters you have on your team, that uses, I think it's MP. Honestly, I don't really like this mode that much. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of it, but I feel like there's so little you can really do. It feels like it just kind of scratches the surface, And not only that, whenever I do one of these skill battles, I almost always fail because usually you just never have enough MP to really perform any sort of powers. You can only really do like 2 or 3 before all of it gets used up. It's just not really what I like. Especially since they use it in adventure mode a lot, which is not really my favorite thing, but I'll get into that a little bit more later. But there's not just skill battles, you can also do swap, where you basically swap in between Puyo Puyo and Tetris. You can play the game online, and you can also do various challenges, and there's also Big Bang, which is basically just a bunch of presets where you have to fill them in properly. Like, say, with Tetris, maybe you have to use like the straight line like Tetraminos in like a specific way. No, I don't know their names. Shut it. But honestly though, gameplay wise, it's very, very solid. Except for one thing. The adventure mode. Now, I don't know what the adventure mode was like in the original game, so I don't know what it was like difficulty wise. However, in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2's adventure mode, the game uses, I believe it's called like an auto difficulty or something like that. Essentially, there's no real way to change your difficulty at all, and the game's difficulty is really jarring. There are moments of the game that are absolutely infuriating, and this isn't like side quest or side like level stuff. No, these are like main level stuff. The one level in like, I believe the 4th world of the game, like in the constellation area, when you like first face off against squares in that skill battle, it is so frustrating. It took me maybe an hour and a half to beat it. And some other battles took really long periods of time that it just wasn't necessary. Eventually, I just started skipping like the last few stages, just so I could continue on with the story. The game was getting ridiculous at that point, and I could start to really feel that the difficulty was not really well balanced. Very jacked. Honestly, they should have just given you an option to choose between easy, normal, hard. It's so easy. It's easy just like that. You can choose it when starting an adventure or choose it like for a specific level. I don't care. Why? It made the adventure mode a lot more frustrating, honestly, and I'll be honest, if they fix this, I'm certain the adventure mode would have been a lot more fun. And don't get me wrong, it's still great because character writing is still there, but man, some of those battles were just so ridiculous that it just really didn't make me like the game as much. But I think that's enough on that. Honestly though, the gameplay was really good. It's just that I think the adventure mode should have been toned down a little bit with the difficulty. And control-wise, no real issues with controls. And in terms of the content the game gives you, it can honestly vary depending on the person. The game does retail for $40 right now, though you could probably get it cheaper for many deals. This game will probably go on sale a lot. And honestly, for $40, I'd say it was decently worth it. I mean, it's Puyo Puyo and Tetris. They're puzzle games. You're gonna play them for a very long time. Hell, I've clocked in like 20 more hours, and I only got the game like 3 weeks ago. I mean, then again, though, I don't have a lot of PS5 games, but even so, it is really, really good. There's a lot of stuff you can do. There's all the modes I mentioned before, and just a lot of stuff you can do. Now, compared to the original Puyo Puyo Tetris, I don't know. Honestly, again, I've never played it. I probably will play it eventually, so I can see what it's like. Possibly get the Switch version so I can have a portable version of the game. But honestly, I wouldn't really say there was anything really missing from the game. Maybe just, I don't know, I don't really know. I can't really think of anything. Content-wise, it was a really good purchase. Probably one of the smartest purchase decisions that I've ever made, honestly. And then the soundtrack for the game is really nice. I like it. I like the versus battle theme. It sounds very nice. I like it. I like the main menu theme. It's good. Music in the game isn't super outstanding or anything like that, but it's still really good. And honestly, that's all I need for a game like this. And now going into the final thoughts. Now, before I go into like the true final thoughts, concludings and stuff, I do want to bring up a few other things that I wanted to talk about, and specifically the next gen exclusive stuff. Now, there isn't any real like exclusive content for like the PS5 or Xbox Series X version of the game. However, I will say though, honestly, I do wish that this game used the DualSense a little better. I mean, I understand it's a puzzle game, so it's not like it has to be super over the top with like next-gen-y stuff and like haptic feedbacks and all that stuff. But it's like, man, I would have loved it if there was more haptic feedback from the controller when you got a 4-line like the combo thing, or like a 3-chain Puyo Puyo thing. It would have been really cool. Like you could feel like the blob things like actually exploding. It would be so cool. But I don't know. They don't have it in there, and I don't know. It just kind of feels like they kind of made the PS4 version of the game and then just changed to a PS5 version, and that's really it. And don't get me wrong, I don't really have a big problem with it. It's a minor thing, but it's definitely something I still noticed. But honestly, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I really have to say. Oh yeah, they also have Sonic in the game. That's funny. It's funny because it almost feels like Sega doesn't know how to sell things that don't have Sonic on them, unless it's like Persona or whatever. So I find that kind of funny, but anyways, for my final thoughts, this game is really, really good. Absolutely worth playing. Now, if you played the original game, I'm not really sure. I don't think it's a very big upgrade, but I'm pretty sure it's probably worth it on the newer systems. I would recommend getting it for the next-gen systems, honestly. Even though there aren't really any next-gen features, it's still really, really good. And if you get, like, let's say you have Puyo Puyo Tetris 1 on PS4, and then get Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 on PS4, there's going to be no need for you to have Puyo Puyo Tetris 1, more than likely. Though I still haven't played it. Maybe it has something exclusive that Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 doesn't have, but I don't know. But honestly though, on my scale from 0 to 10, I give Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 on PS5 a solid 9 out of 10. It is a great game, an absolutely amazing game to play. I do have a few issues with the game, but it's nothing really substantial at all. Honestly though, if the game wasn't as much fun as it is, I would probably bump the game a few levels lower, but as it stands now, it is a great game. But let me know what your thoughts are on the game. Let me know in the comment section, and if this is the first time checking out my channel, please hit this like and subscribe button because it is greatly appreciated. I really appreciate it when people do that. It makes me happy. With that being said, this is NCSO7 signing out. Peace!